Hey folks, how's it going? It's finally time to show the Glottkin all finished up. I know the lighting here isn't the best, but I'm kind of working with what I have, so you'll have to forgive me. But yeah, I can't even get all of this in the camera frame, I don't think, without showing a whole bunch of background stuff. But the Glottkin's finally finished. I'm really pleased with how this came out. This was the biggest project I've ever worked on. It's definitely taken the longest, and it's definitely tested my patience the most out of anything I've ever worked on. I think in the last video I'd mentioned that I was going to change the colour of this guy's cloak. I did that slightly just to make the purple tie in a little more with the purple on the Glottkin itself. It stood out, it was just a different shade of purple that didn't really work, so I'd gone in and changed that slightly. It's not showing up on the camera here. Purples are really hard for cameras to pick up. Apparently, I'd looked into it as to why they weren't showing up properly, but apparently purple is just one of the colours that doesn't show up well on camera. I'd finished this the standard thing that I'd been working on too. I've just drilled a hole in the top here and added that on the side. My reasoning for doing that was because I thought initially the eye line kind of caught here, went up the figure and stopped about there, so you're only kind of focusing on this side of the miniature. Well, this thing's hardly a miniature, but you know what I mean. So yeah, to kind of counter that, I thought I'd add a bit more weight to this side in the hope that it would kind of take your eye line up and then kind of pull it back down to this side of the miniature overall, so that way this area of it isn't completely forgotten. It just adds a bit more kind of, you know, interest over at this side of it, and makes you look at this side of it as well. That was my thinking anyway. I don't know if it completely comes off like that or if it works, but that's what I was going for. The skin was the hardest thing to do on this thing because I've never painted something at this scale anyway, with so many different like shades going on in the skin. There's a lot of like, I don't know, as I say, just different colors merging into other colors and stuff. And that was a real tricky thing to do, because normally I just do, you know, one color but build up different shades of it. But this was try to build up different colors and different shades of those colors in amongst that as well. So it just became a bit tricky to do. But I got there in the end, and there's so much detail on this thing. All these little boils and warts and stuff like that. Just took so long to do. If I could go back, I'd probably do some things slightly different, like my color choices and stuff I might change a wee bit. Like say these eyes and stuff, I'd probably go in and do more detail on, but for now I've spent so long on this thing that I'm happy just to call it finished, really. Another kind of bit that I'd done was added some fire kind of flame effects or lighting effects, I guess, up on top of this thing. So I'd kind of dry brushed a lot more oranges and stuff where all this fire's going on, just to make it fit in a bit more, because without that the fire and stuff that was going on here didn't really make sense. So there's a lot more orange and stuff dry brushed up on the bit sticking out here, and the horns up the back, and on the stomach of this guy up here too, just to give a little bit of kind of glow, and obviously down on the front of this guy's hood too. So hopefully that works from a visual point of view. It's the first time I've ever tried lighting effects, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with it, if I'm honest. The painting was definitely a huge challenge, and it was going back and forth and, you know, messing bits up and repainting them and all those sort of things. So it definitely took a lot of work, a lot of time and a lot of patience. I think I started this thing over a year ago, so it's been a long process, kind of taking breaks from it and going back to it, but I've definitely learned a hell of a lot from doing it, so it was a really worthwhile miniature to do. The base down here, I don't like the fantasy style bases, the square ones or rectangular ones, especially with this model, because it didn't fit on it at all. I mean, the feet did, but then you had this huge tentacle just hanging off at the side, and I don't know, I just think that these round lipped bases, like with the little curve on the sides, makes for a much nicer looking finished piece. But I didn't have any bases this size, so I just searched online for 120mm miniature base, and this is one of the ones that came up. It already had this rock detail going on in there, so that was handy. So I just got this. It wasn't too expensive, so that was cool. And just added a bunch of talus and gravel to it, and then obviously painted all that up and added some flock and little bits of this is just the heads of old paintbrushes. Paintbrushes work just fine if they're old and stuff, you don't mind cutting them up. But there you go, that's the Glottkin. Not sure what I'm going to do with him now. Probably put him up for sale on eBay or something at some point. But yeah, cheers for watching along. I think this is the series of videos on my channel that's got the most views. So I don't know if you've learned much from watching this, but it's yeah, it's cool to see it finished. I'm glad to have it as a finished piece on my shelf for now. And I may sell it on to somebody that wants it in future. But there you go. Until the next one, cheers for watching, and I will catch you all later. Goodbye.